What's up, Internet? This is Abedi Rafik Donna here. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at messaging system within the Oracle database. Traditionally, messaging systems have been used to integrate two different applications. So we have a queue that serves as a broker for one application to push messages to, and for another application called the subscriber to pop it up and then process it. The same messaging system has also been used to implement workflow system, where many different applications are all participating in the particular business process, like this. So we have one application called application A, for example, that is a producer that produces a message after doing some processing and then pushes it into a queue, in this case Q1, and another application called application B will queue that message, do some processing with it, and then enqueue it onto yet another queue. And application C will dequeue that message, second message from that queue, does some processing with it, and enqueue it into the third queue for application D to complete the cycle. This is a typical workflow process. So what we're going to be doing today is kind of similar to that workflow scenario. So I already have a workflow system set up in my database, and this is the schema. Basically, I have a business process, that is this one, that has a definition of a particular business process. It has a process manager, which is obviously an employee, and we have a bunch of activities in our activity pool or activity table. And these are basically the tasks that the organization will be performing. And we will group some of these tasks to form a particular business process. And that grouping happens in the join table between them. That is the process activities. When we receive a business case, we're going to put that in the business case, and we will create the workflow for it. And this workflow will then have the tasks that are related to that particular business process for these employees to complete each of these tasks for the whole process to be considered complete. I'll take a deeper look at the business process structure in a separate video. For now, however, I'm just going to be using this workflow system in demonstrating Oracle Advanced Queue. So let's get to it. To create a queue, you will normally create an object that has the data structure that you want to exchange between the two applications. In our particular case, we are trying to create an order object type that will represent the order that we're going to receive from one application into the queue, and then we will send that message to the second application that need to process it. Once you have that data object or data structure that you want to pass through between the applications completed, you want to create a queue table, and then you point the queue table to that data structure. So I'm going to create a queue here, and then I'll give it a name as this one, the queue table. I'm going to create a queue table first, and I'll point that queue table to the data structure that I have created. So what I'm saying is that I'm going to create a queue table, which will be the repository that we will be enqueuing messages to, and it will contain the payload, which is of this particular data structure. With the queue table created, I'm going to create a queue, and then I'll point it to the queue table and give it a name, and then I'll fire it up. Once that is done, this queue is now ready to accept messages. It means that you can enqueue a message to it. So we're going to create a store procedure that is going to consume messages from this queue, and I'm going to call that the process order. One thing you have to note here is that if you're going to use a procedure as a callback into an Oracle database messaging advanced queue, it will have to have this signature. There's no way around it. It has to have this signature. You can read more about it, and I have some stuff that I'm doing, blah blah blah. We will take a deeper look at this. But basically, I will then dequeue the message from the queue, and then I will do some processes. And my processes actually involve creating a business case, and then completing the first task in the business case, and updating the tags, and then assigning the next task to the next person. We'll take a look back at this when we go to see the examples. And the next thing is I'm going to add a subscriber to the queue. Remember, before you can consume messages from the queue, you need to be a subscriber. We already have the structure that will be able to process messages. Now we need to add that as a subscriber to the messaging queue. So what we're going to do is we'll add a subscriber, and we'll to the queue that we've created above, and we'll give the subscriber a name. And then we will register that subscriber with a callback function, which is the store procedure that we have already created above to process the messages. So this subscriber right here is registered with this callback message store procedure to process the messages that will the queue from the messaging system. So we'll register that here in this line. That is what this whole thing is going to do. On the left side, we're going to create another store procedure that will be responsible for producing messages and queuing those messages into the queue. And so this is a store procedure that I have also created for that purpose. So let's run this whole thing, and then it will create our queue structure. I'm creating that under a schema called AKE admin. So let's get to that. We will create this. Okay, so it looks like everything is fine. Yep, so everything was created successfully. What we're going to do next is to try to test this queue. Before we test it, however, I would like to take a brief look at the messaging system, the workflow system, or the business process system that we're going to be using. And as I told you, looking at this structure, what we're going to do, if you look at that here, we have this workflow structure. Is the process is called order process, and it is managed by Alexander. And these are the various activities or steps that need to be completed for this particular process. When we receive a business case, all of these tasks need to be completed, and they have dependencies. For example, submit payment depends on the place order activity being completed. Ship order items, for example, depends on the shipment being prepared. So this is the workflow that we're going to be dealing with. So let's go back to the AQ system. Now that we have our queue system in place, we're going to use the last procedure that we saw, which is the guy that is producing message, this guy here, to produce a message. So before we actually produce a message, let's take a look at the tables that we're going to be looking at. If we look at this table, we don't have any queue there right now. If we look at the orders table, there's nothing in the orders table. If we go to the workflow table, and then let's see the business cases that we have that are currently flowing through our organization for them to be processed, you see that we have 5 business processes. The last one is process ID 22. If you look at the activities that are being performed, the flow of this process, you'll see we have the first task is completed, the second one is in process, the other ones are all pending. And this is actually process 22. So let's go back to that. Now we're going to enqueue a message, which means the left side application is going to produce a message and then enqueue it to the messaging system. And immediately, the callback function there will be notified. The subscriber that is registered will be notified of the message, and the callback function will be invoked, and the message is passed onto it, and then it will do its own process. Let's see how that works. So we execute. Now the message is enqueued. If we go back to the message queue table and check that, voila, now we have the message there. We have a message that is enqueued. You will see it here for long, and if you look at the order table doesn't have anything. This is because the callback function hasn't been invoked yet, And the reason is that the message, even though it is in the messaging table, hasn't been committed. So let's commit it. And as soon as we commit the message onto the queue, you will now see that we have an order. It means the callback function has been invoked, and it processed the message, and it has put it right here. So this is going to be, if you look at our callback function, you just process order right here. It needs to create a business case, and then it needs to insert that complete the first task, and the first task that it completes is this one, which is what we've just seen, and then it will update the task to be completed. Once the message lands in the order table, it will update the task flow that the first activity or the first task has been completed, and then it will assign the next task to the next person. So let's see how that works. Let's see if that actually happened. If we go through our business process, and now our business process structure, and we look at the business cases, remember the last time we checked this table, the maximum case ID was 22, which is right here. So let's see again. Now we have case 23. So we're going to put case 23 right here, and then try to see the workflow. Case 23, yes, indeed, it has been created. The workflow has been created for it, and we have the first task that has been completed, and the second task is in process, and it has been assigned to Jose Manuel Airman. So this is the complete demonstration of the workflow system and the queue system. Let me go back and see how this whole structure is implemented. Just as a reiteration, you can rewind the video or you can continue to watch this. First, we create a data structure that represents the message that we want to pass through between the two applications. And after that, we create a queue table, and then we say that this queue table is going to contain that data structure that we created. And then we create our queue, and we point it to the queue table, and then we start it. And after that, we have our store procedure, that is the callback function. And as I said, the callback function, if you want to use any store procedure as a callback function to a messaging queue in the Oracle database, it has to have this signature. So I do some things. I decode a message from the queue system, and then I process it. One of my processes is to create a business case, which we saw here, and then we'll perform the first activity, and we update it to be completed, and we assign the next task, and then we go. In a separate video, I'm actually going to also create another callback function, and then register that process that will also dequeue the message, the same message, from a separate messaging system, message queue, however, and then it will also complete the next task and assign it to the next person. So watch out for the next video. If you like this video, please subscribe and also like the video, and tell me what you want to see more. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.